Good morning. My name is Bill O'Connor. I am from Life Care Center of Auburn. Thank you guys for showing up to the Worcester Senior Center and our Distinguished Speaker Series, which is back on. The series continues today with Michelle Elix, right? Community Outreach Coordinator for the Mass Registry of Motor Vehicles. Today's series will be the Real ID. Michelle will explain what a Real ID is, identify those who need one, and provide details how to apply for one, as well as answer any questions like, does everyone really need a Real ID? I can tell you from experience, my birthday was in July and my license was expiring and I had to get the Real ID, and it was challenging to say the least, but so I think you guys will gain a lot from Michelle. Let me introduce her right now.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you so much to the Worcester Senior Center for allowing the registry to come and speak to you all today. Thank you to the City of Worcester as well for videotaping, recording this program so folks at home can also enjoy, learn, and participate, and hopefully understand a little bit more about the Real ID. And biggest thank you to all of you for taking the time to come out today. I know the weather is not ideal, so we really appreciate your efforts to be here. So as Bill mentioned, my name is Michelle. I work for the Registry of Motor Vehicles, and I'm talking about the Real ID today. The Real ID, and I do have a PowerPoint presentation, so if you'd like to follow along, and I just need to get my clicker. Thank you, Jim, as well at the Senior Center for all the AV help. Really appreciate it. So the Real ID is a federally compliant credential, and that is going to be required on May 3rd of the year 2023. So next year on May 3rd, if you plan to fly within the United States, if you have any need to get into a secure federal office building, like the Social Security Administration building here in Worcester, any federal courthouses, you will need to have either a Real ID, federally compliant credential, and when I say the word credential, I mean a driver's license or a Massachusetts ID card. So the credential is either the license or the ID card, whatever's in your wallet. The Registry of Motor Vehicles, as well as AAA, if you're a AAA member, can upgrade that standard license or ID card to a Real ID, and I'll get to how to do that. But I want you to understand that Real ID is a federally compliant credential that will be needed on May 3rd to fly within the United States and to enter those secure federal office buildings, which is what I just mentioned. The Real ID Act was established in the year 2005. And it is the result of 9/11. So if you're wondering, why is the registry issuing a Real ID in addition to the standard level of credential? And that is because 9/11, the Real ID Act of 2005 is a federal mandate. So that means every state within the United States must comply with the Real ID Act. So now you know a little bit about what the Real ID is and why we're talking about it. So what's the difference between a Real ID and a standard credential? Well, I brought flyers with me, and after the program I'll make sure you've got flyers if you don't have one already. But the biggest difference to look at a driver's license and to determine whether or not that is a Real ID is you would look for the star. There's a little star in the top right-hand corner of your driver's license or your Massachusetts ID card. If there's a star in the top right-hand corner, That means it's a real ID, and you'll be able to show airport security that credential in order to fly domestically within the United States. I also have to mention, I don't have to, but I want you to know that if you don't have a real ID, but you do have a valid passport, you can use that instead of showing the real ID at the airport or at Social Security or at federal buildings, okay? So keep that in mind. If you do have a passport and that passport has not expired yet, it's valid and unexpired, you can use that in place of a real ID if you plan to fly domestically or get into a secure federal office building. So again, does everyone need to have a real ID? The answer is you only need a real ID if you plan to fly within the US, if you have business to conduct at a Social Security office building or at a federal courthouse, and you do not have a passport, because it's one or the other that security will be looking for, a valid passport or a real ID. We are still issuing standard credentials, absolutely, because lots of folks will not need or want to have a real ID. To get the real ID does require that you make a reservation, and I'll get to how to do that, but it does require that you come in person. We need to verify all of your documents. We need to process your application, take your picture. If it's a driver's license, we need to have you take the eye test at the registry. So to get the star put on your driver's license initially requires you to come in person. But once you have the star on your driver's license, you might be eligible to renew that online, depending on your age, the next time that credential expires. So people ask all the time, am I going to have to bring these documents in every time my real ID expires? The answer is no. Once we verify all of your documents during that initial visit to the registry or AAA, you do not have to keep bringing those documents back in every 5 years, every time the license expires. Some of you in this room might be able to renew your driver's license the next time online, depending on your age. Because here in Massachusetts, if you are younger than 75, you could be eligible to renew your driver's license online. So keep that in mind too. But the bottom line is, are you going to have to bring in all these documents every time you renew your license? No, you don't. It's a one-time verification. So the standard ID card or license has written right on it, not for federal ID, which means you can't show TSA at the airport a standard license and board a plane starting on May 3rd. Right now you can, because that May 3rd deadline has not come yet. So, but starting on May 3rd, 2023, you'll need a real ID to fly within the US or to get into certain federal office buildings. So now you know that's the date. Keep that in mind. So when will I need a real ID to fly? May 3rd, or a valid passport. And again, just to reiterate, it will be required to enter certain federal office buildings or to board flights within the United States. So what are the requirements in order to get the star put on your driver's license? As I said, there are documents that are needed that we will verify at the registry, or our staff at AAA will verify at AAA. And as I mentioned earlier, Massachusetts law does require that license holders renew their license in person every 5 years. Again, starting at age 75, Massachusetts requires a person to renew their driver's license in person and not online. So keep that in mind. And also, the registry and AAA are open only by appointment. All right, so you must have a reservation in advance in order to visit either the registry or AAA, and I'll get to how to make a reservation. But let's first start with the documents that one now needs in order to obtain a real ID or even to renew your standard level of credential. So everyone, when their license is up for renewal, will receive this checklist in the mail. This checklist is so helpful. It will help you get organized prior to your visit to the Registry of Motor Vehicles. Now, a couple key things to remember about the documents that are required. All documents must be originals. We cannot accept photocopied documents, and neither can AAA. So no photocopies can be accepted. All documents must be originals. The other thing we are not able to accept is a laminated Social Security card. Some people have gone ahead and laminated their Social Security card. Well, the Real ID Act of 2005 says we at the registry and our colleagues at AAA are not allowed to accept a laminated Social Security card. And that is because we must now scan in every document that you bring to us that we verify. We'll take it, we'll put it in our scanner, and then we'll hand it back to you. So photocopied documents do not scan well. Laminated documents do not scan at all. So again, keep that in mind. Original documents only, no laminated documents, except for your driver's license or your Massachusetts ID card, because we laminated it for you. So we already have all that important information that we need to see. Another thing to keep in mind is that a single document cannot be used for different categories on this checklist. So it's one document per category. You cannot use the same document to satisfy requirements of the different categories. There are 4 different categories on this checklist, so you couldn't use that same document to satisfy each of the 4 categories. But again, this checklist lists everything that we can accept. If you have a document in mind and you think, oh, well, will the registry accept this document? Check this list. And if you don't see it listed on this checklist, do not bother bringing it, because we cannot accept it. And again, it's all based on the Real ID Act of 2005. If you visit the registry and you're missing a document, unfortunately, we will have to turn you away. We'll give you the information that you need, the document that you might be missing, and then you'll have to come back and try again. Same goes for AAA as well. So let's get to what the different categories are. So the required documents, everyone, regardless of whether or not they want a real ID, everyone who holds a driver's license or a Massachusetts ID card must verify lawful presence one time, okay? Whether a person's never had a license before and they're applying for a brand new license or ID card, or whether you've had a driver's license for 70 years. Because of the Real ID Act, we all must verify lawful presence one time. How does one verify lawful presence? Well, on this checklist, on the first page, there are 11 different documents listed under the lawful presence section. You would choose one from that lawful presence section. So what are some examples of documents that prove lawful presence and date of birth? A valid passport. So if you have a valid passport, you would check that off on our checklist, and you'd bring your valid passport with you. That means your passport has not expired. It's valid and unexpired. So that's a document that proves lawful presence. Another document that proves lawful presence is a birth certificate, either a United States birth certificate or a birth certificate issued by Puerto Rico. Either one. Now, if you're going to use a birth certificate that was issued by Puerto Rico, it must be issued after July 1st of the year 2010. So again, that's listed right on this checklist. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind. If you're going to use a birth certificate, whether it's a US issued or Puerto Rico issued birth certificate, it must include the following information. It must be issued by a city, town, county, or state. So that birth certificate must be issued by a municipality. Do not bring in your hospital birth record. That does not prove lawful presence. Do not bring in a baptismal certificate, because that is not a document that we can accept either to prove lawful presence. As you can see, neither one of those are listed on this checklist. A birth certificate issued by a city, town, county, or state. That birth certificate must include the following information. It must include your date of birth, your place of birth, and your name. Obviously, it's your birth certificate. But it also must include your parents' full names on it, so we need to see your parents' full names. It must include the signature of the issuing authority, whoever issued you or your family that birth certificate. We have to see their signature. It must also include a date, and the date that birth certificate was filed with that office, with the Vital Records Office. And the date has to be within 1 year of your birth. And last but not least, it must have an embossed stamp or seal on it. And you can run your finger over that embossed stamp or seal. That means that that's either an original, but if you cannot find your original birth certificate, or your original doesn't include, let's say, your parents' names on it, you should call the city or town or state that issued that birth certificate to you and request a certified version. And that's what it says on this list. We can accept an original or a certified version of your birth certificate. So that's another document that proves lawful presence. Other examples, as I said, there are 11 to choose from this category. Other documents include a green card, employment authorization documents, foreign passport with a visa, a certificate of citizenship, a certificate of naturalization, a re-entry permit form, or a refugee travel document. So those are the only documents that we can accept. Also, a consular report of birth abroad. I forgot that one. Consular report of birth abroad issued by the Department of State. So those are the 11 documents that you would choose from. Bring one that will verify lawful presence. Depending on the document that you're going to use to verify lawful presence, if the first name or the last name on that document is different from your current name, and you want the real ID, there's a little section that I want you to, once you get this checklist, I want you to keep in mind. At the bottom of page 1, it says, your current name must match the name that appears on your lawful presence document when applying for the real ID. So for those folks that want the real ID, there might be a little extra step here, because if you bring in a birth certificate that shows a maiden name, let's say, and you don't go by your maiden name anymore, you go by your married name. So your birth certificate shows your maiden name. Well, you would have to bring in legal document proving you legally changed your name. That includes a marriage license issued by a municipality, not where you got married, not your wedding reception bill. I'm thinking of documents people bring in hoping that we can accept them. No, it has to be the municipality, the city, or the town, where did you apply for your marriage license? That's what we need to see. Or maybe you got married, you got divorced, you got married again, and you changed your name a couple of times. But the name on your birth certificate does not show your current name. You would bring in all the marriage licenses and all of the divorce decrees. And that is the requirement of the Real ID Act of '05, because we need to see, first of all, we need to make sure that you are who you are saying you are, right? And we also need to see that progression of name change to issue you a Real ID. So that is, and let me click this because that shows you, that is one additional step. Proving name change is only for folks that want the Real ID. Then on the second page, there are just 2 more categories. And the category that we need to see next is your proof of Social Security number. So there are 6 different documents you can choose from on this checklist that will prove your Social Security number. One is your Social Security card. Perfect. But make sure that the name on the Social Security card matches the name that appears on your, actually matches your current name. Do you need a couple? There you go. So again, if you're going to use your Social Security card, make sure it's not laminated. Make sure it shows your current name, and we can use that and verify your Social Security number by it. There are alternates, though. You could also bring in a W-2 form. If you have a W-2 and it shows all 9 digits of your social, we can accept that to prove Social Security number. We can also accept a 1099 form. That's the tax form that you might get every January for your taxes, for filing taxes. A 1099 form issued by Social Security Administration, or a 1099 form issued by a non-Social Security Administration agency, like a financial, a bank, an investment firm. So a 1099 is an alternate to that Social Security card. And last but not least, to prove Social Security number, we can accept a Social Security number denial notice issued by SSA. All right? And then final step, we've got one more category, and you'll get the Real ID. You need to bring in for the Real ID 2 documents that prove that you're living in Massachusetts, okay? Depending on the document, it must be dated within 60 days of your visit. So again, on this checklist, the second page lists about 30 different documents that you can choose from that will prove you're living in Massachusetts. The document must show, in order for us to verify that you're living in Mass, it must show us your name and your residential address. To prove Mass residency, we do not allow you to bring in something that only shows a post office box number. All right, we need to see a bill or a statement that shows your residential address and your name. So no post office boxes can be accepted, and no mail that's mailed to you in care of, okay? So some examples of proving Mass residency: your driver's license, your current and unexpired driver's license, your Massachusetts ID card, as long as it is current and it's valid and has not expired. That's a document that you would use to prove Mass residency. So you can use one Registry of Motor Vehicle document, either your license or your ID card, or a piece of mail sent to you by the Registry of Motor Vehicles, dated within 60 days of your visit to the registry. So you can use one Registry of Motor Vehicles document, and then for those that want the Real ID, you would bring one more document from this entire list. So there are lots of categories on this Mass residency list. Some of the categories are city, state, county, government-issued pieces of mail, like a first-class piece of government-issued mail, dated within 60 days, a property tax bill for the current year, an excise tax bill for the current year. Some other examples of government-issued items: a current firearms card, a jury duty summons dated within 60 days, A Medicaid statement dated within 60 days. So that's one category. Or you could choose from the next category, bills. You could bring in a bill, a utility bill, a credit card bill, a medical or hospital bill, an insurance bill, whether it's auto, medical, home, rental insurance, or a cell phone bill. Make sure the bill that you bring in is dated within 60 days of your visit to the registry or AAA. And then there's a whole nother column on this checklist. Lease, mortgage, rental agreements, financial documents. Under the financial document section, we do list a W-2 as well as a pay stub. But be aware that if you're going to use a W-2 to prove your social security number, you cannot also use that W-2 to prove mass residency. So remember I said in the beginning, one document per category. You cannot use the same document for different categories though, okay? So you bring in a bill or a checking account statement, a savings account statement, make sure it's dated within 60 days of your visit to the registry. We verify those documents. As I said, you come in with this completed checklist, so you check off whatever documents you bring in, bring your documents, fill out an application if you're able to do so prior to coming into the registry, because that's going to save you time at the registry or at AAA. Anything you can do ahead of time to get ready for your visit will save you time at the registry. So again, you hand us your documents, we verify, we scan them in, we hand them all back to you, and if we verify everything, you pay your fee. To renew a driver's license here in Massachusetts costs $50. There is no additional fee to put the star on your driver's license if you do it while you're renewing your driver's license. Now, does anyone know how? Well, you know, a driver's license expires every 5 years. So does a Massachusetts ID card. Expires every 5 years, and it expires on your birthday. How far in advance can you renew your driver's license here in Massachusetts? 1 year. That's right. That's right. You have the ability to renew your credential, whether it's a license or an ID card. You have the ability to renew that credential within 1 year of the expiration date. So a lot of people think they need to wait until, a couple weeks before it expires. No, don't do that. Don't procrastinate. We want you to renew as early as possible, which means you can renew within 1 year of the expiration date. You're not going to lose any of that time. So let's say, for example, your birthday is on November 1st, and you look at your license and you see, oh, this expires next year on November 1st. You could make that reservation and come in today or tomorrow or next week if you wanted to. You're not going to lose all those extra months that are coming up. We're going to base your new license on your current expiration date. We don't base it on the day you come in to renew. We always, if your renewal goes successfully, we add 5 years to the expiration date. So in that example, if my license is due to expire on November 1st, 2023, I make my reservation, I go in next week, I renew my license. My new license will expire on November 1st, 2028, because it's always 5 years from the expiration date. So please don't wait. We know at the registry and at AAA, 2023 is going to be an extremely busy year for us. We're always busy. We'll be much busier in 2023 because of that May 3rd, 2023 deadline. So I commend all of you for learning how to get this done and get it done sooner rather than later. So let me tell you a couple bits of information on how to get that reservation, because as I said in the beginning, the registry and AAA are by appointment only. You can no longer just walk into the registry or into AAA and be served. You must have a reservation in advance. Well, how does one get a reservation in advance? Couple of different ways. You can either go online to our website, which is mass.gov/RMV. Always make sure you are at mass.gov/RMV. This little poster that's going to be at the senior center here has the website on the bottom, mass.gov/RMV. The other way you can make a reservation is by calling this number. We have a dedicated telephone number for our customers age 65 and older to call us at the registry, and we'll make a reservation for you to visit the registry. This is only for visiting the registry, but you can call, and I'm sorry it's not on your paperwork, but if you could jot this telephone number down, this is our dedicated 65 plus reservation line. The phone number is area code 857-368-8005. And I'll repeat that. And I might even have some extra pens if you need a pen to jot it down. Do you need it? But I'll tell you after. 857-368-8005 is our registry reservation phone number. You call us. We're there to answer your question, or actually not answer your questions, but make that reservation for you. And yes, we'll answer questions too. But that telephone number is staffed Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. So there won't be anyone there to answer your call after 5, but from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, that 65 plus reservation line is open, and we'll make the reservation for you. For AAA, to make a reservation at AAA, you would go to AAA.com/appointments, or you would call your local AAA office and make the reservation over the phone. All right, now the registry also has 1 hour per week dedicated to our customers age 65 and older, and anyone with a disability. You need a reservation, though, to come in during this 1 hour. So anytime you want to visit the registry, you need to have a reservation in advance, including our senior hour. Every Wednesday morning, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., we are only serving customers age 65 and older, or customers with a disability. And the customer must have a reservation in advance to come in during this hour, this special hour. You don't have to come in during senior hour. You can make your reservation for any hour that we're open. And again, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, are our normal business hours at the registry. Also, AAA, I believe, is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. AAA is, though, open on Saturday morning. But this is unique just to the registry, this senior hour, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We only schedule 50% of our normal customer volume during this hour. So greater chances of social distancing during this hour. But you have to be 65 plus or have a disability. At any of our registry locations, we offer this Wednesday morning hour. And again, you saw that already. To make the reservation, go online, mass.gov/RMV, or call our phone number, 857-368-8005. So is the real ID right for you? Only you can decide that. Only you can decide that. So whether you want to maintain your standard level of credential or get a real ID, it is your decision. Do it sooner rather than later. Now you know you can renew your driver's license 1 full year prior to the expiration date. I actually received an excellent question right before we started. Well, what if my license does not expire until 2025, let's say? Maybe you just recently renewed your driver's license and it's valid until 2025. Well, you're not eligible to renew it because you're not within that 1 year of the expiration date. But what you can do instead of renewing is replace. You would do a replacement. Still have to make a reservation, come in person, bring all your documents, and instead of renewing that credential and adding 5 years to it, we will replace that document, put the star on it, but we cannot touch the expiration date. You'll keep the same expiration date, but it's a replacement. The same thing if someone stole your wallet, let's say, and you need to replace your ID or your license. You would contact the registry and get a replacement, and that costs $25. We cannot alter the expiration date if it's a replacement. So you are eligible to upgrade to the Real ID, whether you're eligible to renew it, you could do it then, and even if you're not eligible to renew it, you can still upgrade to the Real ID. And you saw all this before. That's my name, our website, and our telephone number. I was asked to remind customers one important bit, that if you have a reservation to come in during our 65+ hour, please do not try to conduct transactions for friends and family while you're there. We have customers coming in during their scheduled reservation, but they're also bringing in paperwork for other people. No, that's not what this is designed for. The customer needs to do their own transactions, okay? You cannot bring in paperwork from your neighborhood and try to get it all done during your one appointment. No, the appointment is for you and you alone to conduct your registry transaction. So again, I want to thank you so much. I wish you safe travels, and thanks again to the video, City of Worcester, and to Jim and Suki at the Senior Center, and to Bill as well for offering a wonderful meal. And thanks to all of you. Stay safe and have a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Okay, sure. Questions? I don't know if we're still recording, but questions? No questions? No. Okay.